Tish Johnson-Jones, born in Newark, New Jersey, right at Beth Israel Hospital. Grew up in a neighboring town of Irvington and went through mostly for the majority of my education, the Irvington public school system. Thought I was smart, top of the class, all that good stuff. Then I got to college at Spelman and realized maybe I wasn't as smart as I thought I was, which was the first key to me about some challenges around education in urban areas. People are top of the class, but what does that really mean relative to other people? So my freshman year of college, really had to work my butt off in order to stay because I was so behind. So extra studying, extra everything else. And really for me, the first time it clicked that not that I wasn't as smart as I thought I was, I just didn't have the foundation I thought I had when I went there. So started off there as a biochemistry major, lasted in that for about a year or so. Then went on to major in economics, graduated with a bachelor's in economics, and took a first job as a financial consultant in public finance. So went to law school. So I'm going to apply. If I get in, it's meant for me to go. So study, apply, obviously got in, went to law school, graduated from law school. And unfortunately, at the time, just going through some personal challenges and changes, and found myself in law school, getting separated from my ex-husband with a 3-year-old by myself, to a totally different state. During that period is when my first time I really knew what my resiliency was and how strong I could be, because I had to finish law school, 2 years of law school, with the toddler in the state by myself, alone, some friends, but no family. So in that period, after graduating from law school, decided to come back to New Jersey because that was where it was easy. That's where my family was. So I came back to New Jersey, worked with a couple of attorneys here, and a mentor at the time told me, still take the New Jersey bar. You never know if you end up wanting to practice down the line. So I took the bar, I was able to pass, but I still just didn't have the desire to do it. I really wanted to get more involved in Newark. So for me, I always struggled with leaving Newark, graduating from college, going off to do these great things, but not coming back. I felt like I should be doing something from the city that I'm from. So I came back to Newark, I was able to live that out. So I ran into an old friend, just how can I get back in? I hadn't been here 10 plus years. How do I get back involved? And she introduced me at the time to Councilman Darren Sharif. So I went into his office. I would love to volunteer for about 2 weeks or so. He called me into his office for a meeting. Where do you work? How much money do you make? Asking all these kind of invasive questions. And he just offered me a position. He was like, I would love for you to come on board as a legislative aide. Absolutely. So I always felt like this was the first opportunity I had where work wouldn't feel like work. It was just an extension of who I was, which is what the goal and the aim was in coming back to Newark, not just taking a job for the sake of having a job, but really being able to give back and be passionate about the work that I was doing. So I started with him. I was there for about 2.5 years, and that's really where I started to get my feet wet in Newark around politics, around community engagement, around issue areas, around legislation and policy, and really being able to support his vision, but he also gave me the opportunity to implement my own vision. We were just able to do some really, really good work, and I was able to meet some amazing people from across the city of Newark and really build a network here at a place that I haven't been in the past 10 years or so. But as I started to get deeper into Newark and see what some of the challenges were, one of the largest challenges for me was around education. And that was, for me, it was really sensitive because I had a kindergartner at the time. Before I came to Newark, I was like, where's he going to go to school? What is it going to look like for him? And he was fortunate enough for his name to be pulled in the lottery for a great charter school here. But for me, knowing everyone, it wasn't fortunate. So it was saddening to me and disheartening that your child's trajectory could be based on where they're selected to go for kindergarten. And what does that look like, and how does that, kind of manifest later on down the line in their educational journey. So I started to do a lot of advocacy work around education and around parent choice and around ensuring that all students in Newark had access to a high quality education. And my last job before GreenLight Fund, which we'll talk about today, was with Brick Education Network in Southwood Promise neighborhood. And I was there for the past 4 years. And it really gave me an opportunity to look outside of just education, but to look more at all of the challenges that were happening across the city, from housing to transportation challenges, to food insecurity, to homelessness, to cash assistance, to mental health supports, and really gave me a different lens because I had been looking at just education for such a long time. But this allowed me to expand beyond that and then, really know about those issue areas and be able to support community there. And from that position, that's really what led me to want to work with and lead GreenLight Fund Greater Newark. So why GreenLight Fund Greater Newark? And I'll be transparent. Initially, I wasn't interested. 3 different people had sent the role to me, and I was like, oh, I don't know. But the more I was like, I'll just take the initial phone call with the recruitment firm. So I took the phone call, and honestly, the more conversations I had, the more intrigued I became around the role, and really looking at this as an opportunity to deepen and broaden the work that I do for the city. Like I mentioned earlier, I always wanted to find a way to give back to the city and make the city better and support the city, because we have amazing people here. And over my last 12 years of working in Newark, there's no shortage of determination, of compassion, of empathy, of resiliency, of wanting to be better, wanting to do better, of wanting us to be better collectively for our children, for the generations behind us, and then also for ourselves. So wanting to really be able to say, how can I make a dent in what we can do for Newark? And I feel like GreenLight Fund Greater Newark can be the vehicle to do that. Again, for me, it's the opportunity to bring people to the table that won't normally have these conversations together, and being able to facilitate and steer those conversations and have, like I said, Deacon Brown at the table with the president of a corporation, or at the table with the president of a corporate foundation, and say, this is what I want to see in the city. And at a table where his voice means just as much as everybody else at that table, giving community that opportunity and being able to be a vessel for that is also why I chose GreenLight. And then being a product of Newark and being able to lead an organization that's a national organization, a national brand, and be, on the ground and doing the work, but also being able to support on a micro and macro level, because I'm looking at not just what we're doing for Newark residents, but what does this mean for how we look at poverty across the country? What does this mean for how we look at systemic racism, for look at systemic challenges and equity and inequities that we have, and being able to have a voice with national executive directors and sit with them and listen to some of their challenges and talk about ways that our cities are the same and ways that we can support each other in this work and lift each other as we climb. So while the work is a micro level and work that I'm leading here is really about working with executive directors and Black people and Black women and Black men that lead these organizations from across the country, and really being able to look back after it's said and done, after all of our time in GreenLight is said and done, and say we've been able to have deep and broad impact on our community over the last years in this particular way. So that's why I'm excited about GreenLight. And like we said, I probably could have been somewhere else, but it's about also like positioning myself in a way to not just be able to lead locally, but be able to have macro level change across the country.